Tonight on 90 Day Fiancé, the drama reaches a level no one saw coming. What started as another tense filming day quickly turned into chaos when Jasmine suddenly disappeared from the set. Cameras were rolling. Producers were asking questions. And then, just like that, she was gone. But this was not just another emotional moment. This was triggered by something far more explosive. A secret. A DNA test. And the worst possible timing, during a green card interview process that was already under pressure. For weeks, rumors had been swirling about tension behind the scenes. Jasmine and Gino have never had a quiet relationship. From jealousy battles to emotional breakdowns, their love story has always walked the line between passion and disaster. But this time felt different. This time, it was about trust at the deepest level. According to sources close to production, the shocking moment unfolded when questions about their immigration paperwork came up. As many fans know, the green card interview stage is one of the most intense parts of the entire process. Couples are often separated. They are asked detailed questions about their relationship, their past, their finances, and even personal matters that test whether the marriage is real. Any inconsistency can raise serious red flags. During this review, a detail reportedly surfaced that caught Jasmine completely off guard. Gino had allegedly ordered a private DNA test without telling her. Let that sink in. A DNA test. In a marriage that is already fragile. If true, that decision alone speaks volumes. The room reportedly went silent when the topic was mentioned. Jasmine, who has never been one to hide her emotions, was visibly shaken. At first, she appeared confused. Then hurt. Then furious. She demanded answers. Gino, known for his awkward attempts to defend himself under pressure, struggled to explain why he had kept something so significant a secret. Was he doubting her? Was he protecting himself? Or was there something else going on that viewers have not yet seen? The tension escalated quickly. Producers attempted to calm the situation, but emotions were running too high. Jasmine's voice reportedly broke as she questioned how someone who claims to love her could go behind her back like that. Trust has always been the foundation they struggled to build. And now, it appeared to be cracking all over again. Within minutes, Jasmine stood up, removed her microphone, and walked off set. Cameras followed at a distance. Crew members exchanged nervous looks. And Gino sat there, stunned, realizing the gravity of what had just happened. This was not just another argument. This was a moment that could define their entire future. Social media exploded as whispers of the incident began circulating. Fans were divided instantly. Some argued that Gino had the right to protect himself, especially given their turbulent history. Others felt that secrecy in a marriage is a betrayal no matter the circumstances. Ordering a DNA test without telling your spouse suggests doubt. And doubt can destroy even the strongest bond. The timing makes it even more dramatic. Immigration interviews are designed to test honesty and transparency. Officials want consistency. They want proof of authenticity. A hidden DNA test surfacing during such a process could raise serious concerns. Not just about trust between them, but about the legitimacy of the relationship itself. Could this impact their green card approval? That is the question hanging in the air. Behind the scenes, sources say production was temporarily halted while the situation was assessed. Jasmine reportedly locked herself in her dressing room, refusing to continue filming. Meanwhile, Gino attempted to contact her, but she would not respond. For the first time, even longtime crew members were unsure whether the couple would continue the show together. What makes this even more intense is their history. Viewers have watched Jasmine uproot her life, leave her home country, and commit fully to this relationship. She has defended Gino publicly, even during moments when fans criticized him heavily. To discover a secret of this magnitude during an official interview would feel like humiliation on top of betrayal. Imagine sitting in front of immigration officials and finding out your husband doubted you enough to conduct a private DNA test. That kind of revelation cuts deep. And yet, some supporters of Gino believe there may be more to the story. They point out that reality television often highlights only fragments of a larger narrative. Could there have been prior concerns that pushed him to take such a step? Was he influenced by outside opinions? Or was fear driving his decision? Fear of financial loss. Fear of heartbreak. Fear of repeating past mistakes. Whatever his motivation, the execution appears to have backfired spectacularly. As of now, neither Jasmine nor Gino has officially confirmed the DNA test story. The network has also remained silent, which only fuels speculation. When silence surrounds a scandal like this, it often means one thing. It is going to play out on screen in full dramatic detail. If that happens, It could become one of the most talked about episodes in franchise history. The stakes are high. This is not just about reality TV drama. It is about a marriage under pressure from cultural differences, emotional wounds, and now potential immigration complications. Relationships built under the spotlight face unique challenges. Every argument becomes content. Every mistake becomes public. And every secret, eventually, finds its way into the light. The question now is simple but powerful. Can trust be rebuilt after something like this? Jasmine has always demanded transparency. She has made it clear that loyalty is non-negotiable. If she views the DNA test as proof that Gino never fully trusted her, reconciliation could be extremely difficult. On the other hand, dramatic couples in this franchise have surprised viewers before by finding their way back to each other. Love, after all, does not follow logic. It follows emotion. And emotion is unpredictable. As fans wait for official confirmation and upcoming episodes, one thing is certain. This storyline has reignited intense interest in their journey. Whether you support Jasmine or defend Gino, it is impossible to look away. Because at the center of it all is a universal theme. Trust. Once it is broken, rebuilding it requires honesty, vulnerability, and courage. The coming days will reveal whether this was a temporary explosion or the beginning of the end. For now, viewers are left with a dramatic image burned into their minds. A silent set. A stunned husband. And a wife walking away, questioning everything. Gino remained seated for several minutes, staring at the floor, replaying the moment in his head. He knew the impact of what had just been revealed. A private DNA test is not a small decision. It is not a casual mistake. It is a statement of doubt. And in a relationship that had already survived explosive arguments and trust issues, this felt like lighting a match in a room filled with gasoline. Inside her dressing room, Jasmine reportedly broke down in tears. For someone who has always worn her emotions openly, the humiliation hit harder than the anger. According to insiders, she kept repeating one question. Why didn't he tell me? That question is at the center of everything. Not just whether he took the test, but why he felt the need to keep it hidden. In marriage, secrecy often hurts more than the action itself. Producers attempted to mediate, asking Jasmine if she was willing to at least speak with Gino off camera. She refused at first. She felt blindsided, especially because the alleged DNA test surfaced during discussions connected to the green card process. Immigration interviews are already stressful. Couples are separated and asked deeply personal questions to verify the legitimacy of their marriage. If inconsistencies arise, they can face delays, additional scrutiny, or even denial. For a detail like a secret DNA test to appear during such an interview would not only shock a spouse, it could also raise serious red flags for officials reviewing the case. Meanwhile, Gino reportedly tried to justify his decision when speaking privately with producers. He claimed he felt pressured by outside opinions and past experiences. He allegedly said he wanted certainty, reassurance, peace of mind. But reassurance obtained in secrecy rarely brings peace. It often creates more chaos. The bigger issue now is perception. Immigration authorities value transparency. A hidden action that suggests distrust between spouses could invite deeper questioning. Were there prior doubts? Were there inconsistencies in their story? Was the relationship ever fully stable? These are the types of questions that could now surface. Back on set, time was ticking. Filming schedules are tight. Storylines are planned. But real life does not follow production timelines. After nearly an hour, Jasmine finally emerged, eyes red but posture strong. She agreed to speak, but only with boundaries. Cameras resumed at a distance. What followed was not a screaming match. It was quieter. And in many ways, that made it more powerful. Jasmine reportedly told Gino that the DNA test was not just about biology. It was about respect. She reminded him of the sacrifices she made to move forward with him, to leave her comfort zone, to trust him despite previous betrayals. For her, this was another sign that he never fully believed in her loyalty. Gino attempted to explain, saying fear drove his decision. Fear of being hurt. Fear of repeating mistakes from his past. But fear does not erase consequences. Trust once shaken does not instantly reset. The conversation grew more intense as they debated whether this secret would permanently damage their foundation. Jasmine asked directly if he truly believed she would betray him. Gino hesitated. And that hesitation reportedly said more than words ever could. Viewers who have followed their journey know that hesitation has been a recurring problem. Uncertainty breeds insecurity. Insecurity fuels conflict. And conflict, when repeated, can exhaust even the most passionate love. The next major concern now revolves around their immigration future. If officials perceive instability or deception, additional interviews could be scheduled. Requests for more documentation could follow. The process could slow down significantly. For a couple already under emotional strain, that kind of pressure can magnify every unresolved issue. Fans are already speculating about how this will play out on screen. Some believe this could be the defining turning point in their storyline. Others argue that controversy often strengthens their bond because they operate on intense emotion. Their relationship has always been dramatic, unpredictable, and deeply reactive. But this situation feels heavier because it touches on legality, identity, and the future of their marriage in a new country. Social media reactions continue to pour in. Supporters of Jasmine argue that secrecy equals betrayal, no matter the reason. Supporters of Gino argue that caution in complex international relationships is understandable. But at the heart of it all is a simple reality. Communication was missing. If he had openly expressed his fears, perhaps the situation would have unfolded differently. Secrets, especially during an immigration process, rarely stay hidden. They surface. And when they do, the fallout can be explosive. The final moments of the resumed filming reportedly ended with uncertainty rather than resolution. Jasmine did not promise forgiveness. Gino did not receive reassurance. Instead, both acknowledged that rebuilding trust would require more than apologies. It would require transparency moving forward. Whether that transparency comes too late remains to be seen. What makes this storyline so compelling is that it mirrors real-world relationship fears. Doubt, pride, fear of betrayal, fear of being used. These are universal anxieties. When combined with immigration stakes and reality television cameras, the intensity multiplies. As the season continues, viewers will be watching closely for signs of reconciliation or collapse. Will Jasmine demand proof of loyalty? Will Gino double down on his justification? Or will they finally confront the deeper insecurities that have followed them from the beginning? One thing is certain. This is no longer just about a walk-off. It is about whether two people who claim to love each other can confront the uncomfortable truth that trust cannot survive in secrecy. The fallout from this moment is far from over. Begins with the emotional aftershock that neither Jasmine nor Gino could ignore. The confrontation on set was not just another reality television blow-up. It shifted the energy of their entire storyline. In the days that followed, communication between them reportedly became cold and calculated. Where there was once explosive emotion, now there was distance. And sometimes distance is more dangerous than anger. Anger means you still care enough to fight. Silence can mean something is breaking. Jasmine began questioning everything, not just the alleged DNA test but the pattern behind it. She replayed past arguments in her mind, moments when Gino hesitated, moments when he seemed unsure, moments when his insecurity surfaced in subtle ways. She wondered whether the DNA test was an isolated act of fear or part of a deeper mistrust that had always existed beneath the surface. For Gino, the situation felt like a nightmare unfolding in slow motion. He insisted that he never intended to hurt her. He claimed it was about protecting himself in a complicated international relationship. But protection without transparency often looks like deception. And once someone feels deceived, explanations sound like excuses. The immigration process added another layer of pressure. Legal reviews are thorough. Officers examine timelines, financial records, communication history, shared living arrangements. They are trained to detect inconsistencies. If questions arise about trust between spouses, interviews can become more intense. Jasmine reportedly feared that the DNA issue might trigger additional scrutiny. The last thing she wanted was for their private conflict to influence official decisions about her future in the country. Meanwhile, online conversations were growing louder. Viewers debated whether Gino's decision reflected insecurity or caution. Some pointed out that long-distance relationships can create anxiety. Others argued that marriage requires vulnerability and faith. The division among fans mirrored the division within the couple. Trust versus doubt. Love versus fear. Transparency versus secrecy. As filming resumed for follow-up segments, producers focused on the emotional aftermath rather than the initial explosion. Instead of shouting matches, there were long conversations about boundaries and expectations. Jasmine reportedly made it clear that she could not move forward unless every hidden concern was brought into the open. She demanded honesty not only about the DNA test but about any lingering suspicions Gino might have. Gino, in turn, expressed fear of being portrayed as the villain. He worried that viewers would misunderstand his intentions. But intent does not erase impact. The damage had already been done. One pivotal moment reportedly occurred when Jasmine asked a direct question. If the test had never surfaced during the interview, would you have ever told me? That question hung in the air. Because the answer reveals everything about motive. If secrecy was meant to be permanent, that suggests deeper distrust. If it was meant to be temporary, that suggests poor judgment. Either way, it underscores a communication breakdown. Behind closed doors, discussions about their future intensified. Immigration timelines cannot pause for emotional healing. Decisions must be made. Documents must be submitted. Interviews must be completed. The pressure to appear united can strain a relationship that is already fragile. Jasmine struggled with the idea of presenting a strong front while privately questioning her husband's faith in her. Gino struggled with balancing self-protection and marital loyalty. The core issue became bigger than a DNA test. It became about identity within the marriage. Jasmine wanted to feel chosen without doubt. Gino wanted to feel secure without fear. Those desires are not incompatible, but they require openness. Without it, suspicion grows quietly. In later filming, viewers may notice subtle shifts in body language. Less physical closeness. Longer pauses before answers. More careful wording. These small changes often signal deeper uncertainty. Experts in relationship psychology often say that betrayal does not always involve infidelity. Sometimes it involves hidden actions that undermine emotional safety. Emotional safety allows partners to express fears openly rather than secretly acting on them. If Gino had shared his fears about paternity or trust, the outcome might have been painful but honest. Acting alone transformed fear into controversy. Another critical layer involves public perception. Reality television amplifies every flaw. Private mistakes become public narratives. Jasmine now faces not only personal hurt but also public commentary. That dual pressure can intensify emotional reactions. When someone feels embarrassed on a national platform, forgiveness becomes harder. Pride enters the equation. Reputation becomes part of the conflict. In one particularly intense exchange reportedly captured on camera, Jasmine stated that love without trust feels like a contract, not a partnership. That line resonated with many viewers because it captured the heart of the issue. A marriage tied to immigration paperwork already carries external pressure. If emotional trust weakens, the relationship risks feeling transactional rather than romantic. Gino attempted to reassure her by promising complete transparency going forward. He reportedly offered access to all communications and financial records to prove he had nothing else to hide. But rebuilding trust is rarely achieved through grand gestures alone. It requires consistent behavior over time. Consistency cannot be proven in a single episode. It unfolds gradually. As speculation continues, questions about the long-term stability of their marriage grow stronger. Some insiders suggest that this controversy could either push them toward couples therapy or create a permanent fracture. Therapy would require both to confront insecurities honestly. Avoidance would allow resentment to quietly grow. The choice they make next may determine whether this moment becomes a temporary setback or the beginning of the end. Part 3 closes with uncertainty rather than resolution. The DNA revelation has shifted the emotional balance between them. Jasmine no longer feels blindly secure. Gino no longer feels quietly cautious. Everything is now out in the open. And when secrets are exposed, couples must decide whether exposure leads to healing or separation. The cameras will continue rolling. The interviews will continue. The immigration process will continue. But the deeper question remains unresolved. Can love survive when doubt enters the room uninvited? The next chapter will not just test their compatibility. It will test their courage to confront uncomfortable truths together rather than apart. And that is where this story truly becomes unpredictable. Continues as the emotional temperature between Jasmine and Gino shifts from explosive confrontation to something quieter but far more uncertain. After the immediate fallout of the DNA revelation, both of them began facing a new reality. The cameras were still there. The immigration process was still moving forward. But the trust that once held everything together now felt fragile. And fragile relationships under legal pressure rarely stay stable for long. In the days following the confrontation, Jasmine reportedly began reassessing her entire journey. She had left behind familiarity, family, and stability to pursue a future built on promises. Now she questioned whether those promises were grounded in genuine trust or quiet suspicion. Her frustration was not only about the test itself but about what it symbolized. To her, it represented doubt in her character. It suggested that even after everything they had been through, he still needed proof beyond her word. That realization weighed heavily on her. Gino, meanwhile, found himself trying to navigate damage control on multiple fronts. He needed to reassure his wife. He needed to stay composed during immigration reviews. and he needed to maintain public perception. For someone who often struggles to articulate emotions clearly, this situation demanded clarity he had not previously shown.